that my book on feeling your feelings, I'm helping write my friend's book, It's Okay to Die. I'm working on my third kind of piece of literature, contributing to the literature, if you will. My next researchy kind of book is about abandonment. And I'm like, wow, I am just going to be loads of fun at parties with all of these really heavy topics. But I think that because I try to show up in the world as someone that brings positive energy and is bringing the fun and the play, that's why I like to tackle hard topics like grief and these things, is because I want to make it easier. And so maybe having a 15-minute goal, because as you said that, I was like, oh, that's what I didn't want to do. I didn't want to turn it into a checklist. I wanted to, but I wasn't even, I was like so pushed back by the idea. And then I was startled that I didn't want to make that a goal. And then I got all weird about it. I'm sure
Got
nobody else has
had a lot of feelings
experienced
about your
that.
feelings.
I had feelings about my feelings and
Mhm.
probably a lot of judgment, which probably I would say self judgment is the thing that holds a lot of us back from having fun, because a lot of times having fun looks like being silly, looks like laughing at ourselves, looks like just not having to be like put all together and all of those things. You and I share a common interest in one of the ways we love to have fun, especially at weddings, is dancing.
I am all about dancing, and I we will talk about this later also, but I love that my son Henry recently shared a story about how when his grandpa, and when his dad take him to school, he gets there on time. But when his mom takes him to school, we get there late, but we have a dance party along the way. And I think that's so true that we just incorporate dance within all of this. And I'm all about dancing with no abandon. When you say, I'm going to come back to dancing, but when you say that self judgment is the thing that can hold us back, while I fully agree with you, 100% agree with you, I think we have to break it down a little bit smaller, because I think that there might be some people that they're like, it's not self judgment, it's the fear that other people are going to judge me. And the hypothesis and the thesis I would give is that actually the fear that other people are going to judge you is a form of self-judgment, and that worry that somebody else is going to think that you're silly, or somebody else is going to say, "Wow, I can't believe that they did that thing, or that they look ridiculous." What's interesting to me, and I want to fully acknowledge and recognize that I am an anomaly, is I have not had a lot of those feelings throughout my life. I've never wondered, like, well, what if somebody thinks I'm being too ridiculous right now? Then what? Because my brain quickly jumps to, okay, who cares? Like, it's so fast that it'd be like, what if they think I'm ridiculous? And it'd be like, then they think I'm ridiculous, but at least I'm having fun. I mean, I just really don't care what a
And that
vast
has been
majority of
since,
people.
and that has been the truth since kindergarten,
Right.
at
I just
least.
don't
I
care what a vast
observed it at
majority of
first in
people think
kindergarten.
about
Yep.
me. And that's fine. So I do want to recognize that me just saying, like, oh, just don't care what people think about you, comes from a deep place of privilege, that I've been doing that for over 25 years, closer to 30 now probably. And I will say it serves me so well. It serves me so well that I can live life without fear of what people will think about me. Now, don't get me wrong, I still have anxiety and I live with fear of a lot of other things, but I'm not often afraid of what people are going to think about me. And so, where that leaves me is that on a wedding dance floor, you best believe I am dancing my heart out. And I I don't care that I'm not a great dancer. I dance anyway. Interestingly, weirdly, now maybe I'm going to contradict my own self. I do care that I'm not a great singer, and I don't sing in front of a lot of people. I love to sing, but I don't sing in front of a lot of people. I don't care that I'm a bad dancer, and I will dance without abandon. And I have proposed a potential business venture. I don't know that it's viable, but it would be really entertaining, is to be a wedding dance floor consultant, where when you have your wedding and you really want a fun dance floor, you want people out there dancing, having a good time doing that, but you're the bride and the groom and you can't necessarily facilitate the party the whole time. You need somebody out there that's like dance floor coach, getting people up and moving and having a good time and also saving energy so that they can last the entire wedding. I'm your girl. I have helped several bridal parties and wedding parties. They're like, I want to dance, but I'm getting so tired. I'll be like, all right, ladies, come on, bring it in, bring it in. All right, bride's not looking, keep it low energy, keep it low energy. All right, bride's looking, bring it up, let's go, let's go. And they'd be like, okay, she's not looking, bring it down, bring it down. And I will coach people to save their energy the whole time. I have also, at another wedding, I went around to all of the tables and invited everybody to join and dance. And I was like, "Hey, it's so great that you guys are here. Are you guys friends with the bride or the groom?" And they're like, "Oh, friends with the groom." And I'd be like, "Oh, that's so great. I'm glad you guys are friends with the groom. Can I tell you guys a little secret? The bride is actually in the back crying right now because nobody's dancing." So, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, I'm mortified." And I was like, "I know, but let's not tell anybody. We don't want to tell anybody." And I was like, "But can you do me a favor? Can you get out on the dance floor and start dancing and like just hang out there? Even if you guys just kind of want to like bob and sway while you're chatting, just bob and sway while chatting with each other. But if you could do that, not here at the table, but here on the dance floor, that would be swell." I am not kidding. I actually did that at a wedding, and it was
Well,
true.
because it
And
was
there
true story.
was
The bride was crying.
it was true story. Bride was crying because nobody was dancing. That's a different story for a different time and why. But I think
You were
that
doing that, and I was coaching the DJ. And he goes, "But this is the list that she gave you." And I go, "Yeah, those are the songs she likes. Let's put some dancey songs
right,
on."
right, right. Like we can't just listen to
We
Mumford
should
and
tag
Sons and
team on this.
expect people to be having a great time. But
We love some
one of
Mumford
the
and Sons, but it's not
reasons
exactly danceable.
one of the reasons that I think that I am able to bring so much to the dance floor is because I don't care what people think about me. I I think weddings are a really great opportunity to practice this because pretty often you don't know a lot of people at the wedding, and it's pretty rare that you're going to see a lot of them again. I was at a wedding recently where I knew like 8 people and then the bride's mom and dad and bride's sister. That's all I knew of the like 100 people who were there. At this wedding, the bride also was really excited about me bringing my children to the wedding. I was a little less excited about it because I knew that that would hinder my dance floor opportunities. But whatever, we brought my kids. She was excited about them being there. And when this episode airs, we will share the video of me holding my exhausted 18-month-old while dropping it on the dance floor. Like, I did not let my kids stop me. Now, granted, I was so much more sore after this time dancing on the dance floor because I basically did it while carrying a 30-pound weight around the whole time. But I just did it. Like, who cares? The 18-year-old or 18-month-old is not going to notice the curse words in the song, so he's fine. He's fine. Like, we'll just do it anyway. But I did like to the window, to the wall while holding him. That whole song, every word, screaming it out loud. Who cares? All of this,
Okay.
thanks for letting me tell my fun story. I feel like I went on to the story for a little while. I was in the moment. But some things to take from it. What can people take from the story that they could apply to their own lives?
Well, what I was gonna say is when you talk about the self judgment is actually you think people are going to say, no, 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 I'm not. It's not self judgment. It's judging that other people are going to think bad of me. Yes, but then if you go back and listen to our episode on your relationship with yourself, you will hear my whole expounded story and theory that is that if you don't judge yourself, you actually aren't worried about other people judging you because when you can develop confidence and belief in yourself and belief that I am lovable, belief that I am capable, I have what it takes, then you aren't needing the external validation of that. And so, golly, man, I didn't think the episode kicking off fun, we were going to come back to the beliefs thing. But alas, everything comes back to our core beliefs about ourselves. I also want to we brought Ashlyn on to talk through when we were talking about the ask guest culture. In some ways, I wish we would have somebody on here that could dialogue through and tell us, like, why do you care what people think about you? Because I'm so curious how that's serving you to worry about what people think of you. You
Well,
have some
and I
friends that are worried about what people think of them, so maybe you can share a little bit of what her hypothesis, or why people worry about that.
I feel like I have explanations despite me not agreeing with their explanations. So we can go
Okay,
with that.
that's what I was talking about. Yeah, go with that.
I think one explanation for why we're so worried about what other people think about us is when we aren't sure of our place in whatever group we're in,
Mm.
the idea that you could
Oh.
get pushed out or ostracized is so terrifying that when we think about that motivational triad of avoid pain, seek pleasure, conserve energy, being in the tribe, being in the community means that you get community protection from external dangers. It means that you get community resources of sharing food, sharing information, sharing network, and you conserve energy within that. You don't have to be the one to solve all of the needs all the time. And is there a chance that what you do or how you interact with other people or what you say could rattle your place within the community? For some people, this has been a lived experience that they were shut out of a
Mm.
community. They were kicked out of their friend group. They were, not invited. And that adds to the fear. What if it happens again? What if I end up all alone? What if I show people who I really am and they say, well, I don't like that? That risk is terrifying sometimes. And so to say, it's not worth the risk that somebody could reject me if I put my whole real self out there, I will stay here. And I think one of the things that I is probably different with me is that when it comes to the belief I am lovable, that one is my least shaky of all of the core beliefs. I have zero doubt in my mind that I am lovable. I am lovable when I eat gross foods. I am lovable when I dance and, as some people would say, make a fool of myself on the dance floor. I am lovable when I fail, when I get an F on a paper, when I don't get a job, when I mess up at work and just even small things, it doesn't matter. I'm still lovable. And that unconditional love has given me so much security to try things and to venture out because I know my safety net is strong. I know that I can fall and I'm not going to be killed by it. I want to take just sort of our stories that we've shared here and really apply it to how can we take this as a lesson. Number 1, parents aren't perfect. But number 2, that's okay. And there is still healing, and people's journeys are not so dependent on exactly how their parents raised them that there's not a hope that you can get to a point later on in life by all means. And for everything that you feel like that is credited to you as a parent, I think that sometimes we're like, "Oh, our kids are the product of us." I don't think the kids are a product of us, good or bad, in a lot of situations. And I think that we're fine with not giving taking credit for the bad stuff, but I also think that that means sometimes the good stuff can happen because of who the kids are. And so if you're in a situation where you have kids maybe that there's a hard relationship with, or you're a parent yourself right now in the thick of it, it's okay. Cut yourself some slack. We don't have to beat ourselves up that we think that we did anything, that we think, we've done something so horribly wrong that maybe they felt this way. Sometimes there are other factors as well that influence that. There's school factors, there's
Absolutely.
other things that add to it, that even if your parents were air quotes perfect, that doesn't mean that we'll be raised with perfect beliefs. And so take both sides. There are things you can do as a parent, and don't beat yourself up if you feel like you've not done enough. I think that that's the point. Do the best that you can with the tools that you have in the moment you have them.
And this is not a parenting episode.
When do we
that
not
turned
talk
into
about
one.
parenting, though?
When do we not talk about parenting? It's a long thing that you do parenting. So I guess it's gonna apply to somebody at some point. Okay, so we talked about parenting, and what are some other ways that we can incorporate fun into our lives? Amy?
So, one for me that's a little bit interesting that I've reconnected with kind of in my more recent adult years is doing things for the sake of doing them, not doing things for this big grand purpose. And I think that this mentality, it's not a very specific thing, but do it just because you want to do it. You don't have to do it to fulfill. So, an example for me, I, as a kid, loved to write, and I would write stories with my friends all the time. And we wrote ridiculous things all throughout middle school, junior high, a little bit into high school, and we would send it back and forth. And I mean, I think I wrote fiction just constantly. I just was constantly writing things. I wasn't writing books necessarily. We just had a lot of writing. Well, as I got older, because I wasn't writing a book, because there wasn't a purpose behind it, we're not trying to achieve something, what's the point? So let's not do it because there's no point to it to just write for the sake of writing. And I stopped. I probably stopped writing for, I mean, it's pretty close to 10 years. And a couple years ago, I did a group coaching program with Amy Robinson and Next Women, and one of the things that we talked about was reconnecting with the things that you love to do as a child just for the sake of doing them. And I started writing again just for the sake of doing it. And so this was not writing for work where I was writing marketing material or sales copy or an email to remind people about something. This was descriptive prose is one of my favorite things that I've done. I actually have one of my favorite pieces of writing I've ever done was when I was a kid, and my right after my grandma passed away. I didn't want to forget the details of her home, and so I started out, I was like, oh, I'm going to write a story about my grandma, but I want to make sure that I really set the scene. And so I wrote as if I was describing her house, just me walking in. What does the door look like? Which side is the door handle on? What is the feel of the room? What's the smell of the room? What's the paint color? When I walk in, how many times would I be able to actually walk in without stepping on the VHS box versus having to like move things out of the way so I could get past the VHS box? And what did the blinds look like? And I mean, I went through the whole house and everything that I can remember. And then I got to the end of writing about the whole house and I was like, okay, I'm done. This is not really a story, it's just descriptive prose. And so as an adult, I have started doing that again. And I will just sit somewhere and just describe something going on in the written word. There's no purpose to it. I'm not going to publish these things. I'm not going to make big money off of it and accomplish these goals. I'm doing it because I enjoy doing it and because it's fun for me and it doesn't have to fulfill a bigger purpose to do it. That's one example.
I think I love that example, and it reminds me of I was at I've joined a local bookstore has an author night, writer night. Sorry, um, and one of the guys said that he most often writes after he's done like a vacation or a trip, and he does it to remember some of the details, remember some of the stories,
Mhm.
similar to what you are saying. And he goes, and then between trips, he goes, I he's an artist, and he's like, writing isn't my medium, which is why it's fun after a trip or after an adventure to kind of write the story of what happened. Sometimes I embellish it, sometimes I just, and he did it, he said it helps get his creativity going. He has no intention whatsoever of publishing anything. It's just for him,
Mhm. I
just to
think
help
some
him
other
remember
things that
things.
you can do
That's cool.
just because playing video games is a just because thing in my opinion. There's not a lot of purpose behind playing video games, but that's something you can
Oh,
do.
Oh, we may have to have a podcast on that because I'm telling you, there's a whole lot of new information about how video games will actually help you um, as an antidote to fear of failure. Because the whole
Hmm.
point, video games, you just keep trying, and it's no big deal if you die and you got to try again. And it really does help. wire your brain up to just keep trying and not to quit.
I would still argue it's done without purpose. That when you walk into a
100%.
video game where it's like, okay, guys, I'm going to work on my skill of avoiding my fear of
Yes.
failure. You,
Fair enough. Fair enough. There's some good,
uh,
yes.
it's one of those like
There's
these are
some,
the side effects, even if it's not
yes, you're right.
necessarily the
Yeah, yeah,
intention.
yeah.
Um, Playing board games with friends is another one that there can be not a lot of intention behind it, but really good fun to have. Also, there's good community building, relationship building, all sorts of there's other side effects of these things, but I think that there are a lot of ways that we can engage in something fun just because.
I wonder about things like I like woodworking, but I'm not good at it. But it's still fun for me to like just play around with wood and cut it into different shapes and try to make it do the things that it's supposed to do. That's what's coming to mind when you're like, just do it, even if it doesn't, like, just because it's fun. Like, I kind of like it. Okay, I like
Even
it.
I think sometimes painting, I remember when I was in college, we would buy canvases all the time and just paint them. And even that for a while, it kind of stopped because what is the point of it? I'm going to paint all these canvases, but then what am I going to do with the canvas? What if I have more canvases than what I can display? Which is what my college off campus housing situation turned into was more canvases than what we can display. Is there still a point to painting? Even if you're not going to display it, even if you're just going to paint it over white and then repaint it something else, I would say yes, there is. To my children who love to color things so special for me to give to me after school, and he does it every day, and I'm supposed to be a mom without mom guilt and just cherish this scribbled thing. My kid did it without purpose, and that's great and beautiful. And it will still probably end up in the trash unless it's got a handprint on it or some type of notable mark. Sometimes it can be okay that it doesn't last forever. You can still have fun.
I like it. So
So, oh yeah.
dancing. Nope,
So
dancing.
these are just some
Yep.
examples I think about when we think about what can you do to have fun. What I want to invite, what we want to invite everybody into as we go into this month is what are your barriers to fun? What are the things
Mm.
that prevent you from letting yourself go and be in the moment and just enjoy yourself? Do some work, do some internal searching to try and notice what is it that holds you back. Is it there's too much to do, I need to focus on all the work that has to be done? Is it I'm not sure how to engage in fun regularly, and so I only am going to seek fun like 3 times a year on a big vacation? Is it that you're not sure how to just live in a playful spirit and just live in a way that is being silly, or something else entirely? Whatever it might be, we want to invite you to notice that and let's address it, because a life with more fun is frankly a life more worth living.
I love it. That's fantastic. Well, I'm excited about the guests that we have, and I hope you guys will tune in over the next several weeks. And I was about to close this, but it's not my. I'm not.
No,
My
you
job to
close
close
us
this.
today.
So
No, let's be
sorry.
fun. Let's make it a little silly today. You close us.
So I hope that this will continue. This is our second month of helping you find ways to have a freaking awesome life. But I hope this particular episode gets you thinking so that your brain is all ready and teed up for our next few weeks. And I hope you go and be freaking awesome.